is Dominic DeAngelo of WrestleZone.com. Today's date is January 21st, 2021. You are my first interview of 2021, too, by the way. I'm happy to have with me here Moonshine Mantel. I will say probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite name in wrestling right now. So,
hey, man, thank you very much. It's my pleasure being here, man. Thank you for having me on.
Absolutely. We'll get to that, too. I want to ask you about how you got your name and everything. So,
absolutely.
So how I start these off usually, this is episode 3 of Meet the Wrestler, by the way. So what we pretty much do, if you're the first time watcher or listener, whatever you're doing, I basically run down this talent's career and see how so you can get a basis of who they are. So Moonshine, how I start these off typically is what is the first, as a fan, what is your first ever indie show you attended?
Man, first indie show, I guess it would be when I was a kid. I didn't really know about indie wrestling, but I think I was like maybe 5th, 6th grade. There was this promotion down in Texas, and I think they still run. It's called the Christian Wrestling Federation. Okay. And they had a show, just a random show in a barn, you know? So, I mean, that was my first experience with indie wrestling. And then my next show I went as a fan was probably ACW in Austin, Texas, and that's when I was in college. So there's a big gap between like going to indie shows and everything.
Now, when you went to that first indie show at the Christian Wrestling Federation, did it get you hooked as a wrestling fan, or were you already a wrestling fan at that point?
Oh man, I was already hooked at that point. You know, I didn't know much about wrestling outside of like WCW and then a little bit of Japan and like WWF at that time, or WWE. But yeah, I was already hooked at that point now.
Nice. Well, that's my next question too, is what is the first babyface that hooked you? And then what's the first kind of heel that really hooked you as a fan?
First babyface would be Sting. And I guess the first heel would actually be like the heel faction would be NWO, because that's really what kind of like hooked me when I was a little kid. Funny story, I used to be one of those kids who used to knock wrestling and be like, oh, this is crap, and you know, it's fake, and blah 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 blah. You know, the same thing all of us hear about wrestling. But I just was hanging out with my friends, and they were watching it more and more, and like the more I kind of watched it, the more I got into it. And the thing that really drew me in was watching the whole Sting NWO angle. So that's probably like, you know, one of the things that first drew me into wrestling.
Yeah. You know what? So would you kind of say you're mostly a WCW kid and then led into WWE later on? Is that kind of how it works?
Yeah. I was probably WCW for like the first year. And then once Austin started getting hot, you know, that's when I jumped ship. And it was great because at the time you had the best of both worlds, you know, on both stations, you know, growing up as a little kid. So it was great as a wrestling fan. But yeah, man, it was WCW and then later on WWF.
That's the same trajectory I took, man. And like, we're pretty much in the same boat because I was an NWO kid. So I liked like Scott Hall and everything. And like that whole storyline with Sting is what roped me and my brother in too. So, and then later on, we got more into WWE later on too after that. So
yeah.
Yeah. So, talk about now what got you motivated to get into training to be a wrestler. Like, is there a certain moment that kind of really inspired you that you're like, you know, I can actually do this and I'm going to give it a shot? Like, is there a certain moment that stands out for you?
I don't know if there's a specific moment, but, you know, I knew very early on as a little kid, probably, you know, 9-10 years old, that I wanted to be a professional wrestler. You know, it was, my whole focus as a young kid was on basketball, actually.
Oh, really?
And basketball was my first love. And I kind of slowly transitioned away from that because just wrestling just kind of consumed me. You know, I still love basketball, but it's just wrestling was the new thing. And then one of the first shows I ever went to is like a WWE house show. And then, you know, Austin was working on top. And at the very end, you know, he got up there and he was doing his pose to each corner. And I remember as a little kid, I was there with my grandfather, just standing up on the ledges of my chair, you know, and the arm wrestling chair, and I just standing on my chair and just, yeah. And I think that's why, and I was just like, man, you know, this is the stuff I want to get into. This is what really gets me going.
Yeah. Oh man. There's so many moments that like really stands out, and yeah, having those kind of particular moments too. It's kind of neat, I bet, as a wrestler too. Once you're in the ring and you kind of look back on that and see how that trajectory as a fan turned to like you turned it into a profession. It's got to be pretty rewarding when you look back in that matter.
Yeah, man. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah. So let's talk about too. Yeah. So how did the whole process of you getting into training, where did that all start? And yeah, talk about that a little bit.
So I started training my last semester of college. I kind of told myself getting into wrestling. I decided, like I told you, I decided at a very early age, like this is what I'm going to do.
Right.
But the older I got, I got out of high school and I wanted to get into wrestling. But the first thing I kind of learned is that, a lot of wrestlers are saying, well, get a backup plan first, before you even get into this. So I actually took Mick Foley's advice from his autobiography. He's just, it kind of says in there just straight up, find something, get a backup plan first. Then if you still want to go through it, pursue it. So that's what I did. And my last semester of college, I was just like, man, I had the itch and I was just like, I got to do this. So I started my last semester of college training at the Texas Wrestling Academy in San Antonio, the former Shawn Michaels Wrestling Academy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So that's where I trained at. And from there, I trained there for about the first year. And I was just commuting back and forth, between going to college and, San Antonio is about an hour drive, there and an hour drive back. So, about 3 to 4 days out of the week, I was commuting back and forth, and all while, doing a full-time schedule, trying to, be a senior in college and live that life and everything, but also pursue my dream and juggle a job at the time and a relationship. So it's just a lot of things, man. But that's kind of how I got my foot in the door with wrestling.
Nice. So, like, what was your backup plan too, when you were in college? What did you have something?
It's funny. I mean, so like college is the backup. I never wanted to go to college ever. In high school I did the bare minimum just to get by. I partied my ass off. I don't know sorry, I didn't mean to cuss. I don't know.
Oh no, you're fine. Hey, no, I swear all the time on here, so you're good.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, I partied my ass off in high school, man, and never had any inspirations of getting any secondary education. But when I did get into college, I just kind of took what I was already passionate about, and that was like working out and everything like that. And I just I studied exercise science.
Wow, nice.
Yeah.
Has that played into like helping out your career in a lot of ways too, in certain ways?
Oh yeah, man, keeping myself in shape, and as far as like the diet goes and the workout goes, and that's what I do also outside of wrestling, is doing personal training. So
that's great.
Yeah. So that's my other passion, man. I love training people. I love coaching people and kind of helping people improve, and really getting a lot of self-confidence for themselves. That's the best thing I can give to people with as far as personal training goes.
Now, from a self-confidence perspective of wrestling, is there a certain time or when you started it, how long did it kind of take you to be like, man, I'm really good at this, or I'm kind of getting a rhythm at it that I know I can do this and exceed further and make it more of a career?
So from the minute I started wrestling, I was literally my trainer, Rudy Gonzalez. He basically, I was great to have a trainer who would take me out on the road and get me bookings. A lot of guys don't have that kind of pull with their students, or a lot of guys don't have that kind of advantage as far as like who they train with. But he would literally take me out on the road. We'd go do shows in Tennessee. We'd go do shows in Louisiana, this, that, and whatever in Texas. So I had my first year was a lot of just on the road with him, and we would just go, and sometimes it'd be me and him, sometimes me and him, a few other students, but a lot of time was spent that first year with him. And with that, I was kind of learning on the way, but I would get a lot of compliments and stuff. And a lot of people would be like, oh my God, he's only had a handful of matches. And you hear all that, it didn't really click. But then after about a year of doing that, I started training a little bit with Funaki in San Antonio. And through him, I actually ended up going over and training in Japan. Nice. And I was about a year in, I went over and trained at the Kaientai Dojo with Taka Michinoku's group at the time. and went over there for a good solid, 2.5, 3 months, and really got a lot of experience and a lot of confidence, like we were just talking about confidence. And I came back and I just had confidence getting in the ring. And that's the first thing someone told me, because one of the guys who kind of helped me train on the way, I actually got to work with him when I came back, and I worked him in a tag. And that's the first thing he came back. He's like, "Hey man," he's like, "you've changed." He's like, "You're out there and you're more confident." And he's just like, you're not so robotic. And it's just like, you know what I mean? Having that confidence, you're just able to cool down and know, because over there, I trained my ass off, and I was working with guys who spoke some English, but it was very broken English. So a lot of it's just like, you got to kind of feel it and talk wrestling in the ring. So I got a lot of confidence, and I got a lot of good experience from that.
That's awesome. So like, yeah, would you say being in Japan and like kind of learning that different kind of style and everything too, how did you see more of that more in your repertoire when you got back too, or was it more, did you kind of rely on a lot of the stuff that you initially learned, or did you kind of find more of a balance in between those?
I think coming back from Japan, it kind of like slowed me down a little bit, and I started to find my pace a little bit more. But then when I came back from Japan, I was, within the next year, well, when I came back, I was put in a tag team, and, we traveled all the way through Texas. But very soon after that, I got to work with a lot of guys like Ray Rowe and Jax Dane. Okay. So it was just like, going from Japan and learning and getting all this advanced work on myself and my technique and everything like that, coming over, kind of getting the feel of my character and who I am as, a performer and everything. And then immediately after doing that for about 6-8 months, I start working with bigger guys who've gone to like WWE now. But it was just like, it was a good lesson, a good crash course all in those first few years, man. And yeah, that's kind of where I formed my character, and I got a feel of who I was.
Yeah, that's something else I want to ask you about too, is as far as getting the persona and stuff, obviously it's you, but is there certain influences that maybe, and let's go from a wrestling style perspective too. Is there certain particular talents that maybe some of your trainers or people that directed you to, hey, you got to watch this guy or take some notes about this, or something that maybe you personally did too, was like, I'm going to like do a little bit of cherry picking from this talent or this talent? Is there certain stars that maybe stand out to you in the more so way of that?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I'm not, Steve Austin. I take a lot of his intents, and I that's who I learned to throw punches from. I was working with Ray Rowe, and Ray Rowe was like, "Hey man, your punches are the shits." I was like, "Oh, straight up." And then it's just like, "Oh well," he's like, "Go and start watching Steve Austin." So I went and watched Steve Austin, and then before you know it, my punches weren't the shits. Yeah. So Steve Austin right off the bat. Chris Benoit, his intensity, I kind of try to mimic his intensity in there. That's one person who I've really studied a lot of. Bob Holly, Bradshaw, Billy Gunn, Harry Saturn, people like that, man. Those are kind of like the ones who more stand out of who I have studied over the years.
Okay, I can definitely see that too. I watched your match with Gino Medina, the ROW one you had in the tournament, like the opening round of the tournament match. And yeah. I definitely saw some Billy Gunn in there. I definitely noted that. Yeah. So
cool, man. Hell yeah.
Yeah. That's great. So, as far as, let's see here. As far as, just, from like, being in Texas wrestling overall, I think it's really cool, because the first person I interviewed for Meet the Wrestler was Barrett Brown, and he's based out of Texas too. So, and then we also, but I mean, so many of the talents that I've interviewed, like Lance Archer and Ricky Starks and stuff like that, Sammy Guevara, like so much talent comes out of there, Texas. Talk about that as like a basis from a learning perspective, and all the diverse kind of talents that come in and out of Texas. How special has it been kind of from you being in the Texas area for that? Has it been for your career, I guess, in a lot of ways so far?
It's been great, man, because I've been working now 7-8 years, and Texas has always been the black hole of indie wrestling for whatever reason. There's always been a lot of work in Texas. There's always been a hell of a lot of talent down in Texas, but for whatever reason, if you ain't up in the Northeast, and if you're not over on the West Coast, I mean, and some of the Midwest as well, like especially Chicago area, St. Louis, and all those areas up there. If you're not a part of that, Texas and down south, you don't hear shit about us, man.
Yeah, right.
So it used to just blow my mind because I would see all this talent coming up, like the Keith Lees, like the Ricky Starks, and Lance Hoyt. I've been a fan of Lance Hoyt since I was a little kid, because I knew he was a Texas guy. Always, yeah, man. So I mean, Barrett, Kurt Stallion, ACH, Gino. I mean, I could keep going on and on. I mean, the Ryan Davidsons, man. There's a lot of guys who come out of Texas, and it's just like, it's unbelievable talent. And it's cool now that just, everyone's starting to like kind of get the feel of like all these guys are coming out of Texas, and it's really been cool seeing all these guys come up. And it's been it's been a hell of a learning experience, man, because in this business, dude, and just like any other business, iron sharpens iron, man. So all this good talent, it's all being used in Texas. Everyone's getting to work with each other. It's been great. It's been great for me as a worker.
I know.
And for fans, I couldn't imagine for fans, man. I mean, they've had a lot of fucking great talent, dude.
I know.
You got the Shane Taylors, the Sammy Guevaras, the Ray Rose, dude. It's just like, you can keep going on and on. It's just like damn. It's
unbelievable. Like, and I keep thinking to myself too, when I'm like looking, kind of like reflecting back on the interviews I do, I'm like, dude, I've done so many fucking interviews with Texas-based wrestlers, and it's like, but it's like they've been the like best ones that I've had so far. It's because like as a more diverse and well-rounded group, it's fascinating because there's so much great roots in Texas, from like the Terry Funks to Dusty Rhodes and all that stuff, like Booker T, Austin, and everybody. It's just, and you can go on for that too.
Man.
Yeah. Oh man. So the other thing too I wanted to talk about was let's see. Oh yeah. Wrestling philosophy, just in general. What is your basis on it? Like, because a lot of people there, especially nowadays with social media and everything, the curtain gets let open a lot of times in a lot of ways. Are you more so, how do you go about that approach from yourself as a perspective, like as a person, or then also just in general from the industry perspective? What's your viewpoints on that kind of thing? And how do you handle yourself, basically, would you say?
I mean, the cat's long out of the bag, and I don't, I love how people are saying, "Oh, kayfabe this," and people knew wrestling was bullshit, But here's the thing: my philosophy is, I wish guys would treat it a little bit more professionally, in a sense that, just like a movie, man. Like, I don't want to know all the secrets behind the scenes and everything like that, because I mean, you know what I mean? I don't want to see the guys like hugging right after, the bad guy, the heel in the movie. And it's just, for me, I played a little bit more closer to the vest. I don't try to insult anyone's intelligence, but I also don't throw it out there that, hey, this is all, predetermined. Hey, we're all friends here. And, that's just not my style, and it never will be.
Yeah, no, it's like, no, people always use like Breaking Bad as example. You don't see like Bryan Cranston turn around like he's like, hey, just so you know, I don't really cook meth,
Yeah, you know what I mean. And it's just, I think you know what I mean.
I know what you mean. It's okay. And I feel there's certainly like, you can find the balance in a lot of ways, but it's also like there's something, I think, when you kind of pull back the curtain, or you wink and nod at like the viewer or the audience member, that you're kind of in a way you're insulting their intelligence that way, because we know what we're watching, or what it's being presented. So I feel like there certainly can be a balance, and it's tougher, I think, in today's day and age, but ultimately it's like, I think that's what really fans like attracts fans, and I think casual fans for that perspective too,
Absolutely. I agree with that 100%, because I'm still a fan, and I don't want any of that being thrown in my face either, because that takes me out of it as a fan. So I try to put myself in the fans' perspective, and me as a fan, I don't like that. So I just kind of assume that a lot of other people don't.
Now, when it comes to like in-ring work and stuff like that, where it's like some suspension of disbelief, like you see a lot of nowadays, like some of those high flying spots can be a little bit telegraphed. Some of them make sense when you do them, but other times, how do you approach that when you're in the ring? Is there certain ways you go about that, or handle that when you have a partner that maybe might be a high flyer, or maybe works a certain type of style that way? Is there a certain way you go about that?
Oh man, I love working with guys who can fly, man. Yeah. I mean, I love basing for guys, and I love, telling the big guy, little guy story, or any kind of story. It doesn't matter what size they are, as long as, I don't mind basing for guys when it comes to high flying stuff, as long as it makes sense and it's not, just like doing shit just to do it.
Just to do it. Yeah. Just to get it out.
Yeah. But as far as like working with guys who are high flyers and everything, I love that stuff, man. I can't do it, but I love being in the ring with guys who can. So that's my philosophy on it.
Yeah, and I think those are the kind of the most intriguing storylines too, is have that contrast of styles you go up against, and whether it's like you're a brawler versus a high flyer, or a big monster heel versus like a little guy, David Goliath kind of style. I think it's just plays into the storytelling aspect of wrestling, I feel, in a lot of ways too. So yeah, man.
Especially when it's done right, man. You got guys who can like go around. I mean, like Fuego de Sol, a guy like him who can get out there and just like, he's very good at his craft, man. And like, he does a lot of high flying stuff, but it's very crisp and it looks believable. So, I mean, if I could put a guy over who does that kind of style, it'd be him.
Now, is there a certain style that you particularly like to wrestle when you like have to, kind of adapt or go against somebody that's whether it's contrasting or complimenting you in a certain way? Is there a certain style that you prefer to wrestle in a lot of ways?
Just a physical style, if whatever people want to call strong style, brawling, whatever you want to refer to it as, I just call it physical. And it doesn't matter if you're a high flyer, it doesn't matter if you're a technician in the ring, whatever it is, man. I just like to have a nice physical match with anybody.
Yeah. Now, when it comes to going up, if there's a particular talent that is there a certain talent that you've worked with over the course of your career so far that you've really found a lot of good chemistry with, and that you just like kind of know each other in and out in a lot of ways and can work a really good matches? There's somebody that stands out to you, or maybe a couple talents too?
Man, off the top of my head, I got really good chemistry with Gino. You talked about that match. And me and him have had a handful of matches when I moved back to Texas after Kansas City, man. After I was living in Kansas City. But I have a lot of good chemistry with him. Another guy, Ryan Davidson, I have a lot of good chemistry with him, either, tagging with him or in the ring against him. Off the top of my head, those would be my first two. Oh, no, I got another good one for you. Gary J. I don't know if you know who Gary J is.
No, I'm not
familiar. St. Louis.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, man. Gary J. He's a tough son of a bitch, dude. He knows how to bring it. That's another guy who I like to get in there and fight with.
Ooh, okay. I'm gonna have to add him to my list for this show. Yeah. Sweet. Yeah. Okay. So this is probably one of my favorite questions that I do for this is outside influences of wrestling. You say you're a big basketball fan and stuff like that too. And is that the Rodman jersey? I think I saw you in the Rodman jersey the other day.
Oh man, yeah, I'm ripping the Rodman.
That's great. Dude. That's great.
I got the whole collection of Rodman. Going back to it, I got his college jersey, and I just need his last jersey with the Mavericks, and then I'll have every team he's with.
Oh, I forgot he was with the Mavericks. Even that, yeah, that's true.
He was there for like a few months, and it was just terrible, but I still want it just to have it,
Yeah. Is he your favorite player?
Growing up as a little kid, I was always a huge Dennis Rodman fan because he hustled his ass off, man. Dude, yeah. That was what drew me to him. He was different. He didn't give a shit, and he just busted his ass, and he really knew how to hype his team and hype himself and hype the crowd. And I just this is even before all the wrestling stuff. I was always a big Rodman fan. So yeah, he was always one of my favorite players.
Yeah. So when he went into wrestling, how was that for you when you saw that happen?
Oh, it was even better. It was just like, oh man, this is my guy from basketball. Yeah. And now he's in wrestling. And I was like, oh, I'm a huge Dennis Rodzilla mark now,
Yeah. My worlds are colliding, so to speak.
yeah, no, it's great. But that would probably be, out of the basketball world, Dennis Rodman. As weird as that might seem to some people. Yeah.
Now, are you a Spurs fan? Is that your team, or?
I'm more of a Bulls fan, but if I had to have a second team, sorry.
Oh, that's okay. You're good.
Oh, sorry. If Spurs and Bulls, those are my two teams.
Yeah, I know. I was a big Bulls, like growing up, like Jordan, obviously, and all that stuff. So it was Bulls and Jazz for me. So.
Oh, nice, dude. Nice. I'm thinking about getting a throwback John Stockton jersey, man.
Oh my God, I would love to have one of those too, man.
Yeah. Oh, dude, you know what? I'm gonna send you a link where You can get a bunch. You can get jerseys, dude, and they can go back to any kind of era you want, man. Like John Stockton or like the 80s, 70s or whatever like that. And like literally, they're like $15-$20.
What? Yeah, you gotta hook me up because I would get the retro John Stockton, man. That would definitely be.
Oh yeah, man, dude. I've been stocking up, man. My jersey game is about to go insane, dude. I'll hook you up with it, but I gotta kayfabe it to the rest of the rest.
Right, you gotta keep it. Yeah, I'm okay with that.
Yeah,
I'm okay with that.
yeah.
What so what's your team nowadays? Is it like, or do you just kind of follow like a lot of me for basketball nowadays? I kind of just like get attracted to a player or a certain team for a year. I'm more, if I had to pick, it'd probably be Sixers for me right now, but
Yeah.
I lived in Philly. But is there a certain team you go by nowadays?
I still follow the Bulls. I follow college basketball too. I live up in Kansas City. I kind of follow Jayhawks a little bit more too. So it's just mostly Bulls, Spurs, and the Jayhawks. If I had to pick my basketball teams for who I follow the most.
Now, did you play basketball in high school and stuff too?
Yeah, I played a little basketball.
Yeah. What, were you a shooting guard or where were you at?
Yeah, I was a shooting guard, man. Because I was in high school, like I was still probably about 5'10" and maybe like $170 or something like that, $175, $180 at my heaviest in high school. And yeah, dude, I wasn't a big guy or anything like that. So yeah, I was usually a shooting guard, but even then, I was never like the fastest or anything. I mean, I was usually just a guy who would, hustle my ass off down in court. And that's another reason, fucking Dennis Rodman got to me.
Yeah, right.
I wasn't the best out there. I wasn't the fastest, but like, if you put me in, I'm going to fucking go out there and I'm going to dive for the ball every time. And I'm going to out hustle everyone every single time. So
now, how were you at rebounds though? Were you like Rodman at rebounds? Is that like
oh yeah, dude, I would go out. Yeah. I would try to, man. Yeah.
Get it mixed up in there, man. That's what you got to do. You know? Oh man, no, I rode the pine in basketball, but I always liked being a part of the team. So 5'3", it doesn't really stand out for you that much when you're that sport.
Yeah.
Yeah, but as far as outside influences of wrestling, is there other aspects that you kind of brought into yourself as a person, like that you bring into the ring from that, like whether it's music, television, movies, certain things like that?
As far as going into my persona and everything?
Yeah.
No, I mean, a little bit here and there. If I had to say, it's going to sound funny. Joe Pesci.
Yeah?
Joe Pesci, Goodfellas, as far as, just having that attitude, like, just that,
yeah,
you don't fuck with me, that's, I've kind of tried to incorporate that a little bit with my character and everything like that. But for the most part, man, it's just, a lot of it's just me just kind of turned up a little bit.
Yeah. Oh, man, that's a good one though. Cause like, yeah, having that fire personality, that's what you want. And then the attitude of a wrestler too.
Yeah. I mean, cause the Joe Pesci, like once you pissed him off or he thought you even said something to disrespect him, you already have him pissed off. And then it doesn't take much longer until about 10 seconds later, he's on top of you, just, and you're begging for your life. So that's kind of like the Joe Pesci Goodfellas, I mean, any Joe Pesci movie, really, dude, he's always just fucking going off like that. So, yeah.
Now, did you see The Irishman? Did you see him in that?
Man, I saw. That's a long movie, isn't it?
It's so fucking long. It's
extremely long. So I think with The Irishman, I need to go back and watch it because it got so long, and I kept watching it in like different bits. Yeah. So like I would start and I watch like an hour here, and then I got to watch an hour. And it's just like I couldn't get through an entire in one sitting. So I need to go back and rewatch it. But yeah, I saw it. I thought he did really good. It was kind of crazy seeing him after not seeing him for so many years.
Right, dude. He's up there, man. He's up there. But yeah. I thought he was like Academy Award winning. Like I thought that role.
Oh yeah, hell yeah, man.
Yeah, he stole the show for that one, I think. But cool. So how I usually close these out is what I've been doing too. I haven't made it yet, but each wrestler I ask if you had to pick 3 songs, and now it can be any of them that like currently, or that you're currently listening to, or that just over your course of your career, I guess. If you have to choose 3 songs to work out to, what 3 songs would you pick? Because I'm gonna make a playlist. I'm making a playlist of all this to get together.
Oh shit.
Yeah.
Put me on the spot.
I've gotten some wild ones.
It's got some wild ones. Let's go. I mean, entrance music. Right now it's probably going to change up, but Pantera Slaughtered.
Nice. Can't beat Pantera.
Yeah. let's see. Lincoln Park. Let's do Lincoln Park. Giving Up.
Okay, nice.
And oh man, I'm gonna take it back with this, dude. See, the thing about me, I'm a big old school hip hop guy, man. Like
Yeah.
stuff. Even when I was a little kid, like I couldn't understand it, but I just listened to it as a little kid, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
I've always been really into like Public Enemy and that kind of stuff
Nice.
from way back in the day, dude.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
like I'm into that kind of shit. So Public Enemy, Welcome to the Terror Dome.
Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, that's a real good one. That's awesome. What are some of your other hip hop ones that you got interested in, like groups and different artists and stuff?
Oh man, I mean, Tupac, Biggie, UGK. I like a lot of stuff from like down south stuff. Zero.
I love
Paul. Yeah. Paul Walk, Millionaire, Slim Thug. The whole like Swisher House stuff. You know, just also like a lot of East Coast rap, man. I like Mobb Deep a lot.
Mobb Deep, yeah.
Yeah, Mobb Deep. Let's see. I mean, off the top of my head, that's probably what I can say off the top of my head, man. Yeah.
Those are good ones. Those are good ones.
Oh, yeah.
Did you ever listen to Jurassic 5?
Yes.
I love Jurassic 5.
Yeah, man.
They're really good with that stuff.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Cool. So as far as oh yeah, these are two other ones I want. If you had to pick your biggest strength right now, what would it be as a wrestler? What would you say?
My intensity.
Your intensity. Okay. That's definitely a good one. What about if the biggest weakness at the moment, or something you'd want to work on more so?
I mean, it's hard to have fucking weaknesses, but if there's anything I want to work on is maybe fuck it, we'll say get a little bit stronger.
A little bit strong. There you go. Okay. Yeah. Heck, man. I mean, like, those are good ones to start with and like always build upon, you know. And wrestling, you're always learning in wrestling. It's like it never.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, absolutely, man. You learn something new. I mean, it doesn't matter how long you've been in wrestling. You can learn something from everyone you're in there with and everyone you're around.
Yeah. And it could, and I'm sure too, I know, just if I'm using this as like an empathetic or outside experience, it's like I learn from people that like maybe aren't as experienced as I am, or people that are super experienced. Like either way it can go. It's kind of surprising once you're in the moment of that too, I feel.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I mean, you know, say I've learned so much from younger guys, just, you know, helping them in situations. I learned how to get through those situations. You know what I mean? So I mean, if that makes any kind of sense. So
it makes sense.
I totally get it.
Yeah. Well, cool, man. Anything you want to plug? Anything? I know obviously we're in the middle of pandemic and stuff, and so there's just a lot of stuff like limited. But what's going on with you?
Yeah, man, I got a lot of stuff coming up with this promotion down in Texas called SWE Fury. They got a lot of big things coming up. They got a lot of they're affiliated with a lot of the CW networks down there.
Okay.
They're on Fight TV. You can follow their YouTube. They're posting they're posting brand new episodes every week on YouTube. So SW Fury, they're doing a lot of good stuff. They got a lot of good people working with them. Kevin Sullivan's on the creative team. Teddy Long is the GM right now. We got, there's a Tim Storm is the champion, man. I mean, there's a lot of good people involved in the promotion. I have a storyline going on there with a guy named Max Castellano right now. Big things going with that. I don't know where it's going to end, but it's not going to end good for him. I don't know if it's going to be a street fight or death match that we have to finish it in, but something's got to happen. It's got to be something big too. So that's what I got going on with SWE Fury. I also got some stuff coming up and with Fearless Pro, that's in Houston coming up. Something with Reality of Wrestling coming up in Houston. Also with WrestleMax STL in St. Louis. They're having their debut show February 20th, I believe. Oh. And yeah, I'm on the debut show. Calvin, you know a guy named Calvin Thompson? What's his
Tankman?
Tankman. That was it. I'm sorry.
I didn't mean to fuck up his name. No disrespect. A little bit ago. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that's who I'm fighting. So
no shit. Holy
looks
smokes.
Yeah, he looks like a big son of a bitch, man. So I can't wait to get in there with him. So yeah, I got that stuff coming up in the next month, man. This Saturday, and you can stream this on Fight TV, I believe. It's the what is it? It's the Wrestle Expo 2. Wrestling Expo 2. and it's out of Fort Worth, and it's going to be this Saturday. Lance Hoyt, we got Filthy Tom Lawler with it. We got a few other big names on the show, man. It's going to be cool. That's this Saturday. A lot of big names out of Texas going to be in that show. So that's going to be one to look out for too. That's all I'm doing on Fight Network. But as far as me, you can follow me on all platforms at Moonshine Mantel, and Pro Wrestling Tees at Moonshine Mantel there as well. And yeah, man, any way anyone wants to help me out, whether it's following me or picking up a shirt, really appreciate it, especially during this times, because we are definitely working a lot less than we're used to.
That's the frustrating thing, man. It's like,
oh man, it's sometimes it's just like, I go crazy sometimes just not being able to get out there and go.
I know, man. I could only imagine too, like not being able, like as constantly as you guys work too. A lot of the times, it's like getting that limited and like not getting that ring, like just acclimated again and all that kind of thing, and having that rhythm going. I'm sure it's just threw you guys through a loop. It's like
absolutely. Well, it's just crazy because I had a kind of a busy month in December, and then January it goes from having a handful of bookings in December to having literally one, and then February it's going to pick back up again. I got like 5 or 6, but it's just like there's no consistency. You know what I mean? Yeah. So they're few and far between. When they do come in, I'm happy as hell to be there. Try to go and do it the safest way possible, and get a little bit of wrestling in.
That's all you can do, brother. That's all you can do. Wait, how did you get your name too? If you want to delve into that,
shit. Well, I mean, dude, just it's pretty simple, man. I mean, I just so basically, long story short, one time when I was a kid, we ended up drinking moonshine, and I ended up kicking someone's ass pretty good. And so on it. So it was just like a little nickname, whatever, dude. I mean, everyone can say it from here to there. So then when wrestling came in, they were like, man, you should use that name, Moonshine. I was like, dude, that's fucking stupid. And I'm like, the more I thought of it, just like, and I was a Dutch Mantel mark, and you got the Mantels out of Texas, right? Ken. Yeah. Ken Mantel, dude, and Johnny Mantel out of Texas. And I just took it. And at first when I went, I was like, fuck it. I need a name for wrestling. And if it sticks, it sticks. If not, who cares? I'll change it, So that's why I Moonshine Mantel. And then, went through it and it just stuck, man. People liked it. And here we are. Dude,
I thought it was the coolest name I heard. And like, even when I was like, so I'm doing Meet the Wrestler, Moonshine Mantel. I'm talking to my WrestleZone chat group, and they're like, one of the guys in there was like, that's an awesome name. I was like, right?
See, I mean, that's the thing, man. Everyone's just like, no. I've asked people over the years, I'm like, what do you think I should do with the name? You think I should change it up or anything like that? They're like, no, fuck no. I'm just like, well, you know what?
You keep it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Sweet, man. Well, yeah, thanks for joining me. It's been awesome. I'm happy you're my third guest on here. All right, cool. This is Dominic DeAngelo of WrestleZone.com. You can follow WrestleZone on Twitter at WrestleZone.com. You can follow me on Twitter at Dominic DeAngelo. And go to WrestleZone.com for all your wrestling news needs. So, all right, Moonshine. Thank you, brother.
Oh, yeah, man. It's my pleasure. Thanks so much for having me on, dude.
All right. Thanks, guys.